welcome Megan.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. Megan, I don't even know it. How do you pronounce your last name now?
Gwinnett.
Gwinup. Okay. I was gonna say Ginup, but Gwinup. Got
Yeah,
it. Got it.
everybody says Gwinnett. You wouldn't be the first one. It's okay.
Okay, good. I mean, my last name's not easy, so I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, but yours didn't
um,
change. So,
True, true, very true. Um, so I wanted to have you on. For those of you that are tuning in, you are a travel agent. We went to high school together. We were in like choir and musicals and things like that. That's how I know you.
yeah,
Actually, your mom and my mom are good friends. They
yes.
still. I don't know if they did the last
I think,
musical. I don't know. I don't.
yeah, they did last year, like pre-COVID,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they did any costuming for what they did this year,
Yeah. I don't. I
but
don't.
maybe
I don't
next year.
remember. So they still talk, and I keep tabs on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. And I saw that you were posting about how you're a travel agent, and you were like doing like fun facts about like travel agency and things like that. So I wanted to have you on because like especially now, COVID's not disappearing, but COVID's tapering off, right? So I feel like people are going to start traveling more,
Yeah.
and with that being said, I wanted to get a couple travel tips and things like that, but I also wanted to point out the fact that when I read it on your Instagram or Facebook, it was, using a travel agent doesn't cost you anything extra. And that was a misconception that I always thought. I always thought like, oh, I don't want to use a travel agent because it's going to cost me more money than it would if I just went on Hotwire or, hotels.com, things like that, Expedia. So I wanted to have you on to talk about that. So let's dive right in and learn a little bit about travel agency and that style of travel.
Yeah. So, travel agents, so when you book a vacation, wherever you book it through Hotwire, Expedia, booking.com, hotels.com, any of that, or direct on the vendor site, a travel agent's commission is built into that price. So when you book, say you're going to take your family to, you have kids, right? So say you're going to go to a
Yeah.
beaches all-inclusive resort. You're going to go to Jamaica or Turks and Caicos. The price that you see is the price that I also charge because I go right through the vendor. But my commission is built into that, whether you use a travel agent or not. And so right now, especially with all the COVID regulations and the testing to get into countries, testing to come back to the United States, constant flight changes. I can't tell you how many times I'm on the phone every day with an airline because my clients' flights have changed or they changed the days. And I'm like, you can't change this. Like, we need to fix this. But I get paid directly from the vendor, um, and it's all included in the price. So, you might find a cheaper price on Expedia or Hotwire or something. Basically, what they do is they cut down the amount of the commission that they're taking from the vendor to offer that cheaper price to you. That's how that works.
Oh,
But
okay.
they will not help you. So you say you have to get your negative COVID test to go to Turks and Caicos with your family, and one of your kiddos, asymptomatic, is positive, and then you have to change your whole vacation. Their Hotwire, Expedia, they're not going to help you. They're going to be like, well, call our in travel number and try to figure it out. Oh, by the way, your vacation's non-refundable. Did you purchase travel protection? But they're not going to tell you any of that stuff. Whereas I'm like, most of my clients now, I'm like, nope, you want to go here? We're going to get travel protection. It's a minimal cost, but it will protect you if something happens. And they won't tell you all the policies and procedures, anything like that. So travel agents, I feel like 5 years ago were not nearly as relevant as we have become, partly because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I think I seen, travel agents were a thing in like the 80s,
Yes.
early 90s, right?
Right.
And then it died out when the internet started booming because they started getting these, hot wires and, Expedia and all that. And now I'm starting to see more of a comeback for it. And especially now, I see it more relevant because of COVID, because of,
Hmm.
the crazy restrictions and ththings like that are going on. So it's really interesting, and I was like, I wanted to have you on to talk about this, and I'm so
Yeah.
glad. So, what company? Or I don't know if you can talk about your company, but
Yeah.
what company do you work for?
Yeah. So I work for a company called Marvelous Mouse Travels. Obviously, with the mouse part, started out almost about 6 years ago, mainly just booking Disney destinations, and has kind of expanded since that. I've worked there for about 3.5 years. I'm an independent consultant, so I work from my home office. As you can tell, I love Disney. All my Mountaineers behind me.
Yeah.
They're not just for me. I have
And
a dollar
you have a
student
lot of
t-shirt.
kids though, right?
Yeah, I have 3 kids. Yes.
3 kids, yeah.
So, but yeah, so I started out booking mostly Disney destinations, Universal, and Disney does, I mean, not just Disney World, Disneyland. They have 6 theme parks, resorts around the world. They have a cruise line. They have this awesome product called Adventures by Disney that you get that Disney level of service, like in High School, Mr. Lee, everything had to be Broadway caliber, right? And so
Yeah.
Disney, one of their huge focuses is just that upper level customer service, like that top-notch treatment. And so they have a product called Adventures by Disney, which they do domestic tours, they do international tours. And they take you with a Disney cast member, it's one of their employees, and then a local guide, so someone who's from the area, and they take you all around. So for instance, say you're a big Sound of Music fan, you want to go in the gazebo and walk around and kind of recreate, 16 going on 17. The Disney Adventures by Disney is the only one that has access to that gazebo. None of the other tour companies do. So like you can go in and your guide will walk, if you're not there with your spouse, your family, will walk you around and somebody can take a video of you like recreating that scene. Yeah. So like that's just
That's
part of
pretty
that
cool.
that Disney difference. They'll lay on the ground to get like the best picture of you in front of the Eiffel Tower where you can see the whole thing. It's really cool. But so we started with mostly Disney destinations, Universal and Orlando and Hollywood, and then have just grown from there. And so I book everything. I can send you on an African safari. I can send you on a cruise. I can help you go to Vegas for the weekend. All of those things. And more people are booking domestic destinations through a travel agent right now because of COVID issues. Because if your flight gets changed, I'm the one that waits on hold for 10 hours, not you. And like Delta, last week, they wouldn't even give you a call back. Like I had to call for my own flight and there was no callback option. It was like, your wait time is 322 minutes. And then like I'd wait for an hour and it'd be, oh, your wait time is 507 minutes. I was like, this is going up. But,
Holy
that's part of
crap.
what happens. I've had clients go to Disney, their kiddo gets sick, they want to come home, so while they're worrying about their sick kiddo, I'm the one that's making the phone calls and the arrangements and making sure that they're getting a refund or they're getting credit for their, unused portion of their tickets and nights at the hotel, and making sure that they have those airport transfers back and forth that are going to take them with no problem. So
Wow.
yeah, COVID has really, last year was rough, right? I mean, like I worked for free a lot because I'm commission
Right.
based, so I get paid after you travel. So when your trip is canceled, I'm not getting paid, which is fine. But I feel like that level of service, maintaining that level of service, has shown people how important it is at times to have a travel agent. And there are always going to be people that want to plan themselves, and that's the beauty too, right? Say you want to take your family to Universal or
Mhm.
Disney and you want to pick what rides you ride and what order and everything, that's fine. You go right ahead. I'll book your trip. I'll send you a huge digital packet. There are some 20 to 40 pages usually of a PDF file that you can just go through that have a whole bunch of insider tips and tricks. Like, oh, your kid's a fan of Harry Potter? You can see Dobby in the window and it's really cool. It's something that I had booked through a travel agent a handful of times before I became one. And at first I was like, why do I need this? But we were going to Disney World with 2 tiny kids. I mean, Ainsley was 2 and Logan was not even 1. And I was just kind of like, these are tiny children. I know they're free. So that's why we're going, because they're
Right.
free under 3. But I reached out to a friend who I knew that did it. And then afterwards she's like, Megan, you know so much. Why, you should do this. I was like, no. So then a few years later, Jeff was deployed, and I was like, I really need something for me. I have 3 kids. I'm over just being the mom and wife. Like, I need something for myself. I was teaching music at a preschool, which is fun and all, but preschool music is
Yeah.
not quite my jam. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I applied. So I applied to this company and a few others and interviewed, and I just really liked the whole feel. And I mean, my agency's great. We're about 275 agents. So when you
Oh
book
wow.
with me, if I don't know something, I will go talk to other agents who have been to that resort and we all pool our knowledge. And it's like, we're like one big family. Really excited. We've got a conference coming up in November that I'm actually going to come back from overseas for. and all of our vendors are going to come to us, and it's just going to be really cool. I'm super excited about it.
That's really cool. And you were just in, was it Cancun?
Yes, in Cancun. Yep.
How was that?
It was awesome. I mean, the water in the hotel zone is beautiful. I mean, I went into the Caribbean Sea up to my chest, and I could still see my feet. I was like, this is not like the East Coast of the United States, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but it's beautiful. I was doing some on-site training with Palace Resorts. They've got a handful of family-friendly and then adults-only resorts at all price points, and they're beautiful. The food is amazing. I mean, Jeremy, they make their pasta is homemade daily. So like you go to the
Wow.
Italian place and it's homemade pasta. It was so good. They're super friendly.
Wow.
And the general feel is everybody's just glad to have people traveling again. I mean, those resorts were totally closed because of COVID. Their employees weren't making money. I mean, it was super sad, but it's awesome. I mean, the Mexican government has made their newest requirements are masks must be worn indoors. So inside the resort, unless you were sitting down to have it to drink or eat some food, you had to wear your mask walking around. Um, Not in the spa, that was optional, so you didn't have to do a massage with a mask on your face. But the second you walked outside, you could take your mask off. Those resorts are pristine. I mean, like so clean, so beautiful. Most of them have been recently remodeled. They really took advantage of the closures during COVID to remodel. But I mean, they're stunning. And I literally can't say enough about the food. It was so good.
Now you grazed over this, but you said, when your husband was deployed, you started doing this, and then you said you're going to come back from overseas. Where are you living now? I don't even know.
So right now we're at Fort Bliss, which is in El Paso, Texas. So it was kind of
Okay.
ironic to me that I had to fly from El Paso to Atlanta to Cancun when I literally, like, out my window right now, I can see the mountains in Mexico. So we're
Really?
right on the border. Yes, we're right on the border with Juarez. Talk about fantastic Mexican food, like so good here.
Oh,
We're
I'm
really gonna
sure.
miss
I'm
it.
sure.
And then this summer we are moving overseas. We're moving to Stuttgart, Germany. So we will be
Oh,
on the southwestern part of Germany.
southwestern part. Okay.
So
I
kind of
think I
like
went
we'll be
southeast.
about like 2 hours from Zurich, about 5 hours from Paris. We're about 2 hours kind of like southwest of Frankfurt.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
So if you've
When I
been,
went to,
where did you go?
I flew in and out of Frankfurt.
Hmm.
I went from Frankfurt. I rented a car. I drove down to Rottenburg, which is like a
Yes.
small medieval town. It's
Yes.
so
It looks
awesome.
like a Christmas town. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And what fun fact there is when I traveled there at the time with the person I was dating, um,
Yeah.
she liked history and stuff like that, and we went there. We stopped there. We stayed there for 2 nights, and we really didn't like book too much ahead of time because we wanted to, if we liked somewhere, we're just going to stay there a little bit longer.
Right.
But we booked, the hotel in Frankfurt
Hmm.
the night before we were going to leave. That was basically it, and then we started picking things along the line, and we booked in Rottenburg. We stayed there for 2 nights. Um, and that city still exists, or that town still exists, because uh, I think it was a U.S. general or somebody, when they got orders to bomb everything in that area, he remembered a picture on his mother's wall of that town and how beautiful it was, and he knew that there wasn't a lot of like Nazis in there or whatever it was,
Right.
so he bombed all around it and
Yep.
basically left that place alone. It was
Yes.
unbelievable, the story that they had, and they talked about it. Then we went from there. We went to the Neuschwanstein Castle,
Yep.
which I don't know if you know, but the Disney Castle
Yes.
is loosely based off of that.
It is. And it's a beautiful,
And
was it a nice clear day? Like, did you get to go
oh
walk
yeah,
on the bridge and like see the
yep,
castle? Yeah, it's beautiful.
it was unbelievable. I mean, I'm jealous that we don't have things like that
I
here.
know. Me too. It's one of my favorite parts about being in Europe. And, like probably my favorite city, to be honest, is London because you've got so much of the history and it's so well preserved. Also, they speak English. because
Right.
when you
So
live
that helps.
overseas for 3 years, like you speak German, like I took French in school and that's really helped. Sometimes it's just nice to hear English. So,
Yeah.
but but I mean, just the history that they have over here. Our country is so young compared to those that I know, I wish we had castles. Like I'm really looking forward to just, going hiking on a path and you find like a castle ruins. My kids don't remember that. When we were there the last time, my older two kids were born in Germany, but Ainsley, my daughter, was almost 2 when we left, and Logan was like 6 months old. So they have no memories. We took Ainsley all over. I mean, by the time she was 9 months old, she'd been to 3 different continents, and we took her all over Europe. We were like, have baby, we'll travel, keep going.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Exactly. No, and then from the Neuschwanstein Castle, we got lost a little bit on our way to where did we go? Um, it's famous. Yeah.
did you go to like Eagle's Nest?
No, it's a big city. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank.
Not Munich.
Maybe it was Munich. Is that where they have
Oktoberfest?
yeah.
Yes. Yep. In Munich.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we went to Munich. Sorry. So
No,
that's
you're fine.
I believe that's southeast, right?
Yes. Yep.
And then from Munich we stayed there for 2 days. I mean, talk about beautiful area. Oh my God. The
Yeah.
parks there. And I okay, this is so you have, how old are your kids now? I apologize.
8, 7, and 4. Well,
8, 7, and
almost
4.
5. Henry will be 5 next month.
Okay. So when I was there, the girl I was dating and I, we went to this park and we were walking around and seeing everything. It was really cool. And then we come like to this like almost like Japanese garden in this park, and they have like a little stand, like almost like a restaurant, and they have like picnic tables and whatnot, and you can order, like schnitzel or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can order beer. So we were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get some schnitzel and some beer. So we did. We sit down, and then a couple sits down with their 2 kids, like on the table next to us.
Yes.
And you know where I'm going with this? And all of a sudden, I see the little kids. They're sharing a beer.
Yes.
And I was like, holy shit! I was like, is that what, like, is that cool? And she's like, and she was like, Jeremy, the U.S. is really the only one that really like has these
Super
like
strict.
yeah, like these like stigmas towards like sexual, like nudity, stuff like that. Like they think nudity is sexual all the time.
Yeah.
And then they say like and drinking is bad all the time. Like at lunch, these little kids, and they couldn't have been more than like 4 and 6. They had this little stein that was probably like the size of a coffee mug, and they were just taking a sip. It wasn't like they were guzzling it.
No.
And then that struck up a conversation between her and I. And I was like, wow, okay. I said, so that's pretty interesting. And she goes, well, think about it. If you grow up and you've had sips of beer and you've had, and it wasn't made a big deal and like, no, you can't touch this. When you go to college, do you think you're going to let loose and just like, do what 90% of college students in the U.S. do, which is just like go balls to the wall and get hammered, blackout drunk? No, because you've had it. You've been there before.
Right.
And I was
you've
like,
been around it. And it's not that forbidden fruit. It's not a huge temptation.
right. So I was like, holy shit, man. I was like, so when I have kids, I'm totally going to be that parent, if any law enforcement, I don't even know if you can enforce that, but I'm totally going to be that parent that like, hey, if you want to sip of my beer, have at it. Like, I'm not going to let you have your own.
Right.
But you can have a sip. You can have a sip of wine. You can taste it. It's not like taboo. You're going to see us having drinks. You're not going to see us getting smashed,
Right.
So,
And
that's
those kids,
yeah.
in all honesty, they're probably drinking a Radler, which is like half of like a sparkling lemonade, half of a wheat beer, which is they're one of my favorite things to drink over there. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So
they're delicious.
in Germany, I had apple vine, which is like their
Yes.
apple wine.
Apple wine.
Oh my God.
So
That
good,
is
right?
so good. Yes. So good. And then from Munich we went to where did we go? We went to Austria, and we went to the first stop was I can't believe
Salzburg or Vienna.
Salzburg.
Mm-hmm.
First stop was Salzburg.
Mm-hmm.
Second stop was Vienna, and then we went all the way back to Frankfurt.
That's cool.
And it was a trip that I will always remember. Obviously, not really well, apparently, but it was phenomenal, and it really opened. That was my first time overseas. So that was, I want to say, like 2011, maybe,
Hmm.
and maybe 2010, 2011, and it was awesome. I couldn't believe it. And since then, I've been to Italy, and we flew in and out of Rome. Uh, I was in Sicily for, I don't know if you remember a girl in high school, Katie J.
Yes.
Um,
Yep. I
yeah,
remember
so
KJ.
she married a gentleman by the name of Santino. He's
Nice.
obviously Italian.
Yep.
Uh,
Right.
and the guy's phenomenal. I love him, and he basically spends his summers over there. Like, his family still has a house over there, and they have property over there that they
Cool.
rent out and things like that. So they got married there, and
That's
we went
awesome.
there to the wedding, and I was able to take my parents with us, and we spent 7 days, or yeah, 7 days in Sicily, and that place is gorgeous. And when you talk about pasta, oh my
Oh my
God!
gosh, I know. Oh, I can't wait. I've already got, I mean, like, I
So
have a running list already of where we're going. Some of them are cities that we've already been to that I want to take the kids back. Henry's never been. Henry was actually born in New York. He was born while Jeff was deployed, so I came home and he was born where I was born at Sisters Hospital. So he's never been overseas. He's super pumped. Like, he's super excited. I'm excited to take the other two back and take pictures of them again in places that they were in
that they were.
previously. Yes. I mean, and I'm like, so next time you want to go to Europe, you can pay for it. Like, we're not taking you again. You can
Yeah,
go, you have pictures now. You should be able to remember some of it. But yeah, no. I just love, there's just so, what's crazy to me is the United States is so big and full of so many different cultures, right? But if you were to take that and compare it to Europe, it's, the United States is bigger. We're all one country, and there's so many different countries, and they speak different languages, and they have different cultures. I mean, it's just amazing. And with the EU, with their non-COVID times, open borders, like, you just drive on through. I mean, we drove from Germany right into France. Nobody stopped us. Like, we had our
yeah,
passports and everything, but it's not unusual to see a German license plate or a French, and they all look similar. They're all that EU license plate, and it's just, you
yep.
can just tell by the two letters, the country code underneath. But we had driven up, our last big trip before we moved back to the States in 2014 was, we went up and we drove, my mom came with us. She came to see Logan after he was born. She babysat the kids while we went to a ball. And like the next day, we were like, thank you. We're going to take you to France. So we went to Normandy and we stayed at this cute little bed and breakfast at a farm in Normandy. They didn't speak English. So I was like, that high school college French really come in handy here. Like, I can ask a few things. Um,
Right.
but we went and my husband did a tour. He went with a group, like a small group, and did a tour of all of the battlefields and the American cemetery and the beaches and everything. My mom and I drove around with the two tiny children. I mean, literally Logan was like 6 weeks old. He actually didn't even have his passport yet. We just took his German birth certificates with us, and we're like, cool. We're just gonna go. We're just gonna chance it. Those pre-travel agent days. Now I would say make sure you have a passport. But I was like, we're gonna, once in a lifetime. We're just gonna go. And now we're going
Right.
back, and I'm like, I guess it's twice in a lifetime. But we went there. We toured a whole bunch of different places. Enjoyed some amazing food. I mean, like, they brought Ainsley milk from the cow in the morning, and of course, because she's American and is used to cold milk, she's like, the 2-year-old Ainsley's like, it's like, shh, stop. They're being nice. Just drink it. But but yeah, so then we went to Versailles. We went to Disneyland Paris for a day. We went into Paris and did all of the sightseeing. I mean, it was an awesome trip. And then we came back and stopped in the Ramstein area in Germany, Kaiserslautern, and then, drove the rest of the way home because we were in Bavaria the last time we were in. Jeff was stationed in Vilseck. We lived in Grafenbeer, which is about an hour from Nuremberg, about 2 hours north of Munich. So, I mean, it
Oh,
took
okay.
us 45 minutes to get to the Czech border. Prague was like an hour and a half away. We did that. We did day trips to Prague, and talk about such a cool city because there are buildings that are literally like in half. Like, there's half of a building. Half of it was bombed away in the war, and then we're able to salvage the other half of the building. So it's like, it's crazy. It's the architecture and the historical things that you can see overseas in Europe are just amazing. And so I don't know how much you saw in Italy, or if you mainly just spent your time in Sicily, but there's like Roman ruins in Italy, like on your way, which is crazy to me. I mean, we're driving through and my husband's like, I want to go to Paestum. I'm like, what's there? Because he was a history major in college. He's like, I want to go here. Okay. So we drive up and he's like, yep, this is where we're supposed to be. It's these huge, like Roman columns, like a Roman temple, just right in the middle of the countryside from
Yeah.
hundreds upon thousands of years ago. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, we went from Rome to Sicily. We flew to Sicily. Then from Sicily, we went back to Rome, spent 2 days there. Then 1 day there. Went to Florence, went to, where do they have the gondolas? Venice, went to Pisa,
Yes.
and then back to Rome.
And that
believe
leaning
was it,
tower
yeah.
in Pisa, I was like, there's no way. And we walk up, I was like, wow, it legit, like, it really leans. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is like Pisa, that's all they have there. It wasn't really that cool of a,
It's that with the
it
huge
wasn't.
church next to it, and it's beautiful. Like, I have a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
But you see all the tourists are like holding it up, or you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just-
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
funny. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah,
we're not
we
gonna
did
take
that.
one of those pictures. We're just stand there. I was like, Ainsley, just stand there. Fine. She was like 8 months old at the time. I was like, no, you're gonna stand, because we went there after we went. We did a Mediterranean cruise out of Civitavecchia, the port right near Rome, and so we stopped
Oh,
at
yeah.
Sicily on our cruise. We stopped in Turkey and Greece, and then it was awesome. It's
So Fran and I got married in 2019, and
in
then but we had a destination wedding. We
in
were
Aruba,
in
right?
Aruba,
No?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we said, and we were there for 10 days. So
Yeah.
we said we don't need to go on a honeymoon,
Right.
right away.
Right.
Like, let's just go ahead and go back to life, and then next year we'll plan like this really nice. And we booked a 12-day Mediterranean cruise, and then COVID happened, and I was livid because we booked it on Royal Caribbean, and this is where full circle. This is where a travel agent would have helped out.
Yeah.
So we booked it on there, and then it was just a deposit. And then we did that in 2019. We did it in, I want to say, October. We booked it. So then they said, well, you really don't have to pay anything. You can start making payments, but you don't have to pay anything until I think it was like June, because we were going in September of 2020. So in June 2020, you have to pay and be good. I said, okay. So then it was like, I think it was like a total like $6,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's fine. So we get to, January, February, and then March happens. People start shutting down. They start canceling things. And then not even thinking about it, June comes and they call me and they're like, hey, they send an email like, hey, don't forget you have your final payments due. And I was like, okay, I'll look at it, but I'm not going to pay $6,000 when we don't know the, severity of this, right? Because at that point, all cruise ships were, like docked. They could not do anything, all that stuff. So I said, all right, whatever. And then next thing you know, I get a phone call. They're like, hey, you got to make your final payment. And I go, but guys, you're not traveling. So why am I going to tie up $6,000? And they're like, well, you'll get a credit if we don't travel on that day. I said, but still, I'm tying up $6,000 that I don't need to.
Right.
And they're like, well, if you don't, you lose your deposit. And I was like, so you're going to go ahead. I go, you're going to keep, I think it was like $200 or $300 that I had to put down as a deposit. I was like, you're going to keep that money. You need it that bad. I was like, I realize that you guys aren't traveling, but you need it that bad that you're going to keep my $300, $400, whatever it was, and you're going to lose a customer over that. I was like, fine. Like, I'm not going to give you $6,000. And thankfully I didn't, because they still haven't traveled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think they're just starting to travel. So I was like, man, I'm not going to do that. But again, if I would have went through a travel agent, they would have probably either told me or got me the full refund or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have said, okay, you've got a few options, Jeremy. they're not going to sail. I can tell you they're not going to sail. You can either pay your final payment and then you get a full refund, or you can take the 125% future cruise credit, which is pretty awesome. They're going to give you 25% more of what you paid for you to sail again with them, which could mean an upgrade in a stateroom, or you could split that and do 2 cruises, right? I mean, so for some
Oh,
people that cruising is their thing, 100% do that. Or I would have called and said, hey, my client doesn't want to pay his final payment. We know that you're not sailing. It either needs to be a future cruise credit or you need to refund him. And they go, okay, well, we'll get back to you. And then if I didn't get a satisfactory answer, I'd go to our business development manager, Jenny, who's phenomenal, and she would go to bat for Royal with me for you. So, and then you would have
that's
like a
cool.
better, because that's the thing too. So like when I went to the Palace Resorts in Mexico this last weekend in Cancun, we met with each of the sales managers at the resorts. We met with the general managers. We have a business development manager, Alex. She's fantastic. And so, like, say you and Fran want to go to LeBlanc in Cancun, right? It's this beautiful all-inclusive resort. Spa amenities are included, not all of them, but some of them are included. It's gorgeous, right? Amazing food, very relaxing, very chill. So you guys just want to take a long weekend. You're done. You want to go. So then I call Alex or send an email to Alex and I say, I got VIP clients coming in, blah, here's what we're going to do. And so then I work with the sales manager and you end up with a little bit of an extra, surprise in your room, or, they get you at the chef's table for dinner, or, you know what I mean? Things like that, that if you were to book it on your own, you just get and you do get a bracelet at Palace Resorts, but it functions as your room key, which is really nice because then you don't have to worry
Oh,
about
it's great.
carrying anything, right? First they put this bracelet on, I'm like, I don't want a bracelet. No, but if you notice, there's different color bracelets. And that denotes, like, so if you booked with if you booked with me and my agency and our status with Palace Resorts, you would get a gold bracelet. And so that then gives you different privileges and things. But people that just book on their own, they get a red bracelet. Members, they do have timeshares there. Members have a different color bracelet. So it's all, and then there's VIP areas on the beach and near the pool and cabanas that you don't have to reserve ahead of time, but are only for those like VIP clients that come.
Oh,
Things like
very
that you
cool.
don't know, like
Right.
unless you booked with an agent. Yeah.
No, that's very neat. It was funny. So I told Fran, I was like, hey, yeah, I was like, I'm recording with Megan. I said she's a travel agent. I told her the story about how I
Yeah.
saw it and all that, and she goes, good, you could book us a trip. I was like,
Yes. I like her
I was
thinking.
like, I was like, I can, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna definitely book a trip. So we'll talk to you about that
Yes, for
offline.
sure.
Uh,
Yes.
but yeah, and now are you gonna continue this when you move?
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of the beauty about this job and our crazy army life is that I started this when we lived at Fort Stewart in the Savannah, Georgia area, moved here, and now move overseas with it. So it's nice because being an independent contractor, like I can set my own hours. I work from home. It's not a big deal as long as I've got an internet connection to my laptop, we're good to go. So yeah, my work hours, I will stay on East Coast hours. So like I'll be working till like 2 or 3 in the morning some nights, just depending. Because I have some clients that work full time during the day, and the only time that they can talk is in the evening, and I
Right.
respect that. And so I adjust my schedule around it. Here it's a little crazy. Sometimes somebody wants to talk at like 5:30 Eastern time. I'm like, I'm actually picking up my kids from school at that time. So can we do 6 your time?
Right.
So, but but I love it. And I'm now at the point where I have a lot of clients that were very happy with my services that then refer me to their friends. And so my business has grown organically on its own, which is really cool. My first year as a TA, I was like, I need to like comment on everybody's status. Like, oh, you went to Disney World, I can do that. You know what I mean? Now I'm like, oh, that's cool. You took
I was
vacation.
seeing
I'm
those. I
excited for
was
you.
seeing those posts. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was.
And then it's funny because, so here's the other thing. So you can book your own trip to Disney World. That's fine. If you have questions and you ask me, I'm going to say, if you'd like to transfer your vacation to me, it doesn't cost you anything. Then I'm happy to help you. But to be honest, if I don't book your vacation, I'm not covered under our insurance. like we have an errors and omissions policy for our agency, right? So if I book your vacation and I'm getting paid for it, then I can obviously help you with your vacation. But if you were to be like, hey, Megan, can you just send me your Disney tips? I'd be like, listen, I'm really sorry. I hope your family has a wonderful vacation. Here's a book you can buy. Here's a Facebook group you can join. But I'm sorry, my services are for my clients. And
Yeah.
at the beginning, I'd be like, yeah, let me give you these few tips and maybe next time you'll book with me. And now I'm like, no, I'm not. I was actually just having a conversation with other agents on our trip. We're like, no, I'm not at that like super desperate, like, I just want to grow my business. Now it's my level of service, obviously, has shown through to people. And so I just get, a bunch of referrals.
Yeah, and you got to be careful with that because you're basically giving out your secrets or your tips or
Right.
whatever for free when it wouldn't have cost them anything to go with you anyway. So
Yeah.
no, I respect that. That's smart.
Right. It's like
That's smart.
it's like you wouldn't ask your realtor or you wouldn't ask like a realtor friend, right? Like, how should you stage your house and stuff like that to sell it on your own, right?
Right,
You would list your house with them,
right,
just like I'm not
right,
going to cut my hair at home by myself, not even in COVID. I'm going to go to my hairstylist,
right.
so, and pay them because that's their area of expertise,
Yeah,
and
yeah. No, I agree.
we do tons of, so I didn't go to college in the hospitality industry. I went to be a music teacher, and I was a music teacher for
Right.
a few years, married my husband. And to be honest, applying for a new certification in a new state each time we moved, getting fingerprinted again, all these things, I was like, no, thank you. We went overseas. It's very hard to get hired overseas. They have the Department of Defense schools, which is where my kids will go next year, but they're mostly staffed by civilians that the Department of Defense has paid to move overseas and pays them a nice salary to be there. So there's consistency in the school, right? I mean, if you think about it, when we grew up, our teachers there wasn't a whole lot of turnover, right? I mean, we had Mr.
Right.
Lee
No.
forever, Mr. Goss is there for, you know what I mean? Like, so many of the teachers were there for a really long time. But when you hire military spouses to teach, they're there for 2 or 3 years and then they move.
Yeah.
So they hire a lot more civilians over there. You can't really work on base. 70% of the jobs on the base have to be filled by what they call local nationals. So Germans that speak English that work for the U.S. government. It's just part of the whole. It's called the SOFA agreement that allows us to be in their country and have a base there. And obviously, like, they train together. I mean, Jeff has a bunch of friends in the German army that when we were there last time, they did a whole bunch of trainings together and stuff. But so for spouses, it's hard to work. So my job is so nice that I can just take it with me. And I'm just like, yep, I'm here. It's cool. And I get to travel all over the place. And then I I just share about it on my page. I mean, anytime I go anywhere. And we have been so, like, Army life is perfect for this job because we go so many different places. I mean, our first duty station was Fort Carson in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So, like, I've skied in the Rockies and, we've hiked all over the place. We went to Columbia, South Carolina at Fort Jackson for 6 months. And so, because my husband likes history, we visited a bunch of like Civil War battlefields and stuff while we were there, went to the beach, all that, moved overseas, traveled all over Europe, came back here, lived in the Savannah, Georgia area, did a whole bunch of, we've done trips to the Caribbean, a bunch of Disney trips in that time because it was a 4-hour drive. Like, I could load up the kids and go for a weekend while he was gone. It didn't matter.
Right.
And now we've lived here, which I never would have lived in El Paso if it hadn't been for this. And we've gone all over Arizona and New Mexico, a little bit curtailed because of COVID. We were supposed to go to Turks and Caicos last summer. That got canceled. We were supposed to go to Barbados for our anniversary. That got canceled. I mean, so it's not like, I feel you on the cancellation of the trips. It's really hard, but,
And with me, my work, I traveled 2 to 3 weeks a month.
yes.
And now I'm literally stuck at home, working from home. And I listen, I wouldn't change it for the world because I was able to, spend a lot of time with, my new wife,
Yes.
the kids, all day, every day.
Yeah.
But, now I'm like, all right, let's go ahead.
Like,
Let's speed this up. I want to start traveling again. So
right.
hopefully we have, we're able to travel at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm losing all my statuses, and I'm really bummed about
it's so
that.
hard. I know. I was last year, some of the airlines and stuff did extend status through this year, so it's
Yep.
nice because I had a companion pass. Like I flew Southwest enough that I had a companion pass, and I was like, this is amazing. This means I only have to pay for 4 plane tickets instead of 5. Like
Yep.
I get the early bird check-in, like it's automatically included, all of that. And so I was really thankful they extended it to this year. And actually, when we leave El Paso, we're going to drive to see my brother and sister-in-law, because Ben's also in the Army, and they're in Fort Benning, Georgia, just south of Atlanta. So we're going to see them for a few days. We're going to drive to my in-laws in Delaware, and then we're going to go to my parents. And it just happens to be we had 2 weddings. We did Justice of the Peace, and then we had our like big church wedding. And so it just happens to be that we'll be in New York for our Justice of the Peace anniversary. And so I have some points that I've earned through selling a bunch of sandals destinations that I'm taking my husband to Sandals Royal Caribbean in Montego Bay. We're going to leave the kids with my parents for 3 nights. We're going to fly down from Buffalo using that companion pass with Southwest, and
Yep.
and we're going to go. And he's never been to a sandals resort, so I'm super excited for him to go and see and experience that. I do quite a bit of my travel without them. I will say, as a travel agent, you do not travel for free. I feel like so many times I'll be, I was in Cancun and people are messaging me. They're like, oh, I really want your job. And I'm like, haha, it wasn't so fun last year, And they're like, but you get to travel for free. I'm like, pump the brakes. We do not travel for free. But, sometimes it's like on these trainings, it's a reduced cost because they want to show us their resorts so that we sell them more, right? I mean,
Right.
it's
You'll
a
talk
lot
about it more
easier in
often.
sales, period. It's a lot easier to sell a product once you've experienced it. So,
Yeah.
but like I was actually just looking at our calendar. I'm like, oh, we leave in like 6 weeks. Okay, can I squeeze in a family trip to Cancun? Like, Jeff, can you take leave? No, I can't. Megan, our household goods are going to be picked up. Like, we're going to be camping in a house with no stuff. And I was like, I mean, but when we have no stuff, we could go to Cancun. And he's like, rein it in. We're going to travel in Europe once they're starting to open up a little bit more. But I will tell you, Jeremy, that Cancun airport was crazy busy. And it was so nice to see, because I have flown into places that have been, Orlando is normally a madhouse. And when I went in
Right.
June, I went the weekend that Universal opened. We are actually Universal's top selling travel agency. They invited us down, anybody who could come for the opening weekend in June. I flew down. There was nobody in that airport. There was no line at TSA, nothing. And it's bad if there's no line at security, right?
Right.
If
Right.
you're not, I'm like, I have TSA pre-check and I don't even need it because there's
Hmm.
no line. It was so sad. But like this weekend when I flew through Atlanta. Atlanta was super crowded. I flew through, not pre-COVID levels, but definitely a lot of people and a lot of flights. And then Cancun
Right.
I was like, this is insane right here. We had 2 gates boarding at the same time, which, then you get the overlapping announcements. And you're like, wait, what did you call? But it was good to see people traveling and to see, people at the resorts and having a good time. And it's just nice. It's been a really rough year for the travel industry. And like cruises, like you said, they're still not sailing. Some of them are in other countries, but not from US ports yet. So
Right.
the CDC announced new guidelines yesterday. So we're just waiting for the cruise lines to come up with their responses. I've actually got like 3 webinars later today to jump on and see like what what Royal Caribbean's going to say, what Disney Cruise Line's going to say, what Carnival's going to say. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited to start traveling again. Fran wants to, when the boys are done with school, because they're now back in school full time. I'm very grateful, but at the same time, I feel like saying, hey, like, how about go to school full time, through the summer?
Right.
We literally have been going to school 2 hours a day, and that's it. And no like Zoom calls in the morning. It was like you go to school, you get dropped off at noon, and you get picked up at 2.
That's
So you get dropped
insane.
off at noon. So figure 5 minutes to get to your class. You
Oh,
get
and then a
picked up
solid
at
like
2.
15 to 20 to like everybody to get settled in.
So I was like, what are you guys actually learning? What are you learning today? Nothing,
Nothing.
And I talked to a couple people in the neighborhood, they're teachers, and they're like, actually, we're on pace with the same thing, because they're not teaching history, they're not teaching, I forget what else, they're not teaching something else. You're basically doing math and reading. Oh, they're not teaching science.
Science. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, well, Jesus, like, if I knew that I could get to where I needed to be in life and only had to go to school 2 hours a day, no problem.
Right.
I'll do it.
You're like, then why did I shell out all this money for this college education to, you know what I
Right,
mean? Yeah.
right.
No, I
I was
get
like,
it.
okay.
Our kids were on Zoom. So last year, that's how it was. It was like a 30-minute Zoom call, like twice a week. And then they had assignments to do, and they were done and outside in like an hour. I mean, it was ridiculous. But I get it. That was crisis schooling, right? I mean,
Right.
we have no idea how to adapt this. These teachers are absolute saints because they have been thrown into all these different situations and put in the middle of all sorts of conversations. And it's not their fault. They're just doing their best to adapt to the situation that they've been given, right?
Agreed.
And so we moved to a year-round schedule this year here to accommodate for all this. So my kids that are normally done before Memorial Day now are not done till June 16th, and they're like beside themselves that they have to go to school that long. But they were on starting the beginning of the school year. It was like half day Zoom. And then when they talked about us going back to school all day, which then didn't happen for another like 4 months, they did all day Zoom. So I had to buy like 2 other desks. I gave up my desk and worked at the dining room table because I had to have 3 kids on Zoom at all times. And it was their 8:15 to 3:25. And they got 45
Wow.
minutes for lunch. Oh, and then their 45-minute PE class, which God bless the PE teachers, because there's like, here's a YouTube. They're like, find a piece of paper and crumple it up into a ball and then get a cup and we're going to throw it at, I mean, like they had to be super creative too. Like I felt so bad. The art teacher who doesn't know, I mean, we live, we live in a city. I mean, and El Paso is not, it's not a very affluent city. And so, there are kids that the district provided hotspots in their houses so they could get online. The district provided every child, pre-K through second grade, got an iPad and like a very heavy duty case with a keyboard. I mean, I was like, this is really nice. And then 3rd through 12th grade got MacBooks. And I was like, I have a MacBook.
Holy crap.
Yes, I know. I was like, better not be as nice as mine. Like, it's not. MacBooks are not cheap. Neither are iPads. But they provided it to everybody so that every child had the opportunity to log on, had all the apps and things that they needed preloaded, which was great, but sent all of their like consumable textbooks home, which I didn't even know they had nowadays. But like their textbook, they don't have like, we had those hardcover textbooks that you had like wrap with paper.
Yeah.
No, there are these like the worksheets are right in them. The instruction and stuff is right in them. So they sent all of those home. And they have been doing school on Zoom the entire time. And then my boys went back in March after spring break. I was like, I love you, but you need to go to school. Please.
Yeah, I think that's where I was at too. Is like, because Fran works, and then I work from home.
Right.
So I was like, I was the one taking on the responsibility of schooling,
Yes.
and it was challenging. And it's so funny because so they gave you the option. You could go full-time remote or you can go half days. And they like I said, so you can go full-time remote. I was like, and you'll be home with me. And, because when it first happened at the end of the at the end of the school year last year, I basically said, all right, you're going to wake up, we'll let you sleep in until like 8:30, 9 o'clock. You're going to wake up, you're going to do your schoolwork. And then after your schoolwork, you can go ahead and do whatever you want.
Right.
And it would take them until 4 o'clock some days, 5 o'clock some days, and literally they could be done within an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah.
But they just were like, I don't want to do this,
yes!
and just like sitting there, and almost
I can't write this many words. That's my first grader. I cannot write all these words. Do you complain like this at school? You certainly can write these words. You sit down and write them. Like the excuses. Yes, it took forever. Oh,
it drove me crazy. So then. When we said, do you guys want to go Zoom full time where you're at home full time, or do you want to go back to school part time? And they're like, we don't want Jeremy schooling. I was like, all right, sounds good with me. Like, you're doing me a favor, man.
Yeah.
So
that's too funny. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But...
So we went ahead and they went part time for the whole entire year, and then I think it was like 2 weeks ago they went back full time, and full time every single day, which is nice. Weekends off, obviously.
Right, but it's nice to have that normal schedule.
Let's at least do it for like until July, like end of July, and then they get August off, and then they can go back to school in September. But we're
there's
doing them a
normally,
disservice.
there's normally that summer
And
slide anyways, right? Where like you get back to
right.
school in September or August and you don't remember half the stuff. But I mean, it's crazy. I've like bought enrichment programs. I'm like, when we get to Germany, every day you're going to wake up and for 30 minutes you're going to do this math program so that you're not behind. I mean,
Right.
it's so hard. And for us, because we move so much, the school districts vary. Like, I mean, pretty much across the country, fourth grade is state history, right? So if we don't learn Texas
Yeah.
state history, we learn something else, fine. But otherwise, it's kind of hard sometimes, the pace that the different schools go at, did you start multiplication already? Did you not? I mean, it's just
Right.
so thankfully they're going to DoDEA schools, which are the Department of Defense Education Activities. So those are all the same across the United States and overseas. They have the same curriculum. And they tend to be a faster paced school because they kind of need to be as good as or better than the like top district in the States, right? Because these military kids are going to go and they're going to move and they need to be on grade level wherever they go. So I'm happy. I know that they'll get caught up, but I stress a little bit. And Ainsley, she's really struggled with virtual school and didn't get the opportunity to go back. And so she now is homeschooled. Thank God for my neighbor down the street who has a second grader who homeschools her daughter as a result of all this. And she's like, you just send Ainsley down. I know you work. I'm like, thank you so much. Because I
That's
couldn't
awesome.
imagine. I mean, so she does this online math program and just all kinds of stuff. And she's loving it because then she gets to play, she gets to be, with her friend. They do school together, they play outside, whatever. But I'm just ready. The kids need routine. Like kids thrive on routine. And when you take that away, it is so hard for them to adjust.
I agree 100%. Now, I am no child expert, but man, kids need routine. They need structure.
I
When
need
you go
routine.
ahead, yeah, when you go ahead and you just say like, it's a free for all, do whatever you want. All of a sudden, it's they are gonna go ahead and fall behind, and they're gonna
Yeah.
go and you see it all the time. And
Yeah.
I'm really I try to get them to be structured. Like every
It's
morning
hard.
when they wake up, I try to make them make their bed,
Yeah.
put the clothes in the hamper after the shower, and then you have to do push-ups. And I make them do like I started them off at 5 push-ups, and then 10, and then 15, 20, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
But that's good. I will say though, a bonus to virtual school was being able to travel a little bit when things opened up. We went to Disney World for Christmas, which I was a little concerned about. My kids, obviously, because they're at home, they're not wearing masks all day and all the time. You've got to wear it in the airport and on the plane, whole way unless you're eating. Um, at Disney World, you literally wear them everywhere outside of your hotel room or the pool. And obviously you take it off to eat and drink, but you're not allowed, we used to be able to stroll around Epcot, around the World Showcase and eat and drink your way around the world. There is none of that. You carry your drink and then you have to stop, pull your mask down, take a drink and put it back up and keep walking. You have to be stationary while you're eating or drinking. And so my oldest and my youngest, no problems, never fought me on masks, whatever. I mean, they haven't really gone anywhere, but at one point you had to wear them when you walked on a walk outside. So when we would go on a daily walk and they'd have to wear a mask, I was like very,
Yeah.
very intense. It was a very intense time here in El Paso. Um, but my middle son, Logan, he's definitely the like, I don't want to do this. This is dumb, So I was worried. We woke them up. We didn't tell them
He's a
we were
little
going.
Republican, huh?
Yeah. Not
He's
even
like, I'm
that.
not wearing my
He's
mask.
just like he just doesn't really like change, which he struggles a little bit when we move, but he adapts. I mean, he's resilient, but he's just like, I mean, why do I have to do school from home? Well, we
Right.
were just doing 30 minutes on Zoom. Why is it all day on Zoom? And they're still in the classroom on Zoom, by the way. Like they're still in front of the screens on the classroom. Like in the
Really?
classroom. Yeah, because like some of the kids are still at home. So the teacher teaches to
Oh,
the class that's there, but everybody is still logged in on the Zoom meeting, and you still have to submit assignments online. But anyways, so we went to Disney. We woke them up in the morning, and I shared a video on, I think, on my personal Facebook page that we woke them up at like, I don't know, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, brought them into our room, and we're like, so, do you guys want to go on an airplane? And their sleepy heads are like, yeah, yeah, where are we going? And so I look at Jeff and I'm like, so you know how you were asking to go to Disney World for Christmas and I told you, no, 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 we weren't doing that. They're like, yeah. And Ainsley goes, are we going to Disney World for Christmas? I was like, we are. And your suitcase is already packed. There's clothes laid out in your room. Go get dressed. We're going to get on an airplane. And I look at Logan. I was like, you will have to wear a mask all day. Are you okay? He's like, we get to go to
Nice.
Disney World? Yes. Yeah, I will do that. So it was funny.
That's
They
funny.
like, what the best time? I mean, and I know that people complained about wearing masks places and that it affects your vacation. And if you really are uncomfortable wearing them, then don't go. But there's still tons of magic at Disney World. There's tons of excitement at Universal. There's amazing things going on at all of these all-inclusive resorts. You know, I mean, it's your personal preference, but I'm like, nope, let's go. It's never going to be these small crowds at Disney World over Christmas are never going to be here again. We are going. And we did. We
Yeah.
did. We went for a week. We did 6 days in the parks in a row, which I would not recommend. That was poor choice on my part. But yeah, but I mean, they had the best time. And it was a trip of yes for us. We were like, yes, you want to build a droid in Galaxy's Edge? Yes, you can do that. Not a
Wow.
lightsaber. You know, you want to build a plastic lightsaber because those are $30 versus the $200. You don't need a $200 glass lightsaber at the age of 4. Like, yes, you
Right.
want to build the plastic lightsabers. Merry Christmas from Grandma and Grandpa. Droids, Merry Christmas from Mama and Grandpa Dave. You know what I mean? It was just nice. We went and they had a blast. And Henry is like, he's 4, almost 5, and he's at like that perfect age. Like everything is really cool. He loves Toy Story. He loves Toy Story 4. We were in a shop in Hollywood Studios. And this is the Disney difference and the Disney magic, right? So we're in a store. This cast member is putting like socks on the shelf, and Henry's like, I want Forky socks. And I looked and I was like, Henry, these are adult sizes, buddy. Like, they are going to go all the way up to your thigh. Like, these are not going to fit you. And he starts crying. And the cast member hears him and he's like, oh, you love Forky, huh? And Henry's like, I just want Forky socks. And the cast member is like, hold on a second. I don't have any Forky socks. I do this. And he comes over with a little Forky that sits on your shoulder. And he's like, so I'm going to tell you a secret. Don't tell anybody, but this magnet here on the bottom, it goes right here on your shirt. And he's like, Mom, is it okay? I was like, yeah. So he sticks it like right here under his shirt. And he sticks the Forky on. And he's like, so now you can take Forky with you everywhere. Just maybe take him off on some of the rides. And he thought that was the coolest thing. So literally Forky went everywhere with us the rest of the trip. He walked around, you know, in the cast member just like rips the price tag off and puts it on. I'm like, he's like, you're all set. I was like, oh, he's like, no, it's on Mickey. Mickey wants him to have a nice vacation.
Wow.
I was like, awesome. Yes. I mean,
that is, see, like that to me is worth every moment when a child gets an experience like that.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, like that's awesome.
Yeah. And he did. So Forky went everywhere with us the rest of the trip. Forky even like through security, I was like, Henry, you got to take it to magnet. You got to take it off. He's like, and the TSA employee's like, I'll babysit Forky for you while you walk through the metal detector and I'll give it back. You know, yeah. But I mean,
that's great.
Even everybody, even the maintenance people, you know, the sanitation worker, everybody was in a good mood just because people were there and having fun. You know, all of these employees in the travel industry are just so thankful to have their jobs back. And that's what breaks my heart about the cruise industry is that there's almost 500,000 Americans who still are not working because the cruise lines are still shut down. Just like all of the people on Broadway are still not working because the lights are still dark. Like, it's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah. No, it's tough. It really is. Now, I do have, and it's not a political question. I you know, you see all this stuff about the border. You live on the border. What, like, is it chaos there? Is it like what's going on now?
No, I mean, there is a facility on Fort Bliss now. It's actually right next to the building where my husband works, and they're not allowed to take pictures of it or anything. But there's a facility for migrant children who are waiting to be reunited with their parents. But I mean, like, they're playing soccer in the yard. Like, it's an air-conditioned building.
Yeah.
I feel really bad for them that they're not with their parents. 100%. I can't imagine what you would have, because we live in the United States, right? I can't imagine like what has to go on in your country for you to be like, I'm going to send my child without me to get them out of here. I can't imagine, because
at a super young age.
At a super young age. I cannot imagine what that feels like, and my heart breaks for them. But no, it's not chaos. Yeah. I mean, and you drive like the border, the wall in El Paso is literally a fence, like a really tall fence with barbed wire on the top. And there's doors every so often that like the Border Patrol workers can go through. But it's funny. Like I've shown my friends on Marco Polo, be like, "Oh, I'm driving by the border. Here's the wall. It's just really tall fencing, like with a door in there. You can't,
That's funny.
But in the Rio Grande it's basically dry in El Paso. I was like, where's this really cool river? No,
It
no.
is?
There's like it's like a trickle in El Paso, but there's
Oh,
like reservoirs and stuff in New Mexico where it's further up where they kind of hold it. And then we're gonna camp at Big Bend National Park over Memorial Day and go eat lunch on the banks of the Rio Grande, like where you can actually see the water. So that's
oh,
our like last
nice.
big, yeah. We're gonna go with two other families. That's kind of our last big COVID friendly, hurrah before we leave. But yeah, no, in El Paso, I was expecting to see this like big river because that's what you hear about, right? And no, it's
Right.
literally like a tiny stream with like concrete embankment walls. It's very strange.
The Rio Grande is not so grand.
No, not in El Paso,
Interesting. Interesting.
but but it's cool.
So before we wrap it up, because we've been talking for an hour, and I mean, I can talk forever. But before we wrap it up, I wanted to ask you, what are like two or three things, and not like your trade secrets, but what are like two or three things that you recommend people do when they book a trip or when they travel in general? Like you mentioned, the trip insurance,
Yes, that's the number
probably a
one,
great idea.
especially right now. That's the number one thing. And here's the thing. There are some insurance companies, like we work with a vendor, Travel Insured, who actually underwrites USAA's travel insurance policies, which made me feel really good because we bank with USAA. So I'm like, USAA likes them. It's got to be good, right? But so for them, for instance, your travel insurance is never refundable. Even if you don't use it, you don't get that money back. But you want
Right.
to think of your vacation as an investment and you want to protect that investment. If you're spending $6,000 on a vacation, you want to make sure that if something goes wrong, that you're protected, not just for your money, but also medically. Say you get sick and it's not COVID. Say you're traveling with your dad and he has a heart attack on vacation and needs to be airlifted somewhere. Do you know how expensive that is? That is like $40,000 to be airlifted off of a cruise ship or from a port back to the United States. You have travel insurance, it covers that. And is it the norm? No, but you want to protect that investment. And so some travel insurance companies will actually let you, if your vacation, so say you bought travel insurance through Travel Insured for your cruise was canceled, you didn't go. They will actually give you a voucher to use that travel insurance because you didn't use it on another trip. So you're not
Oh,
losing all of that. So that's something I feel like insurance gets a bad rep sometimes, but travel insurance, travel protection, my number one tip is to make sure you buy that. You want to protect that investment. The second thing would be make sure you are looking at the website of if you're going international, make sure you're looking at the website of the country you're traveling to, not the US Department of State website about it, the country you're traveling to see what their entry requirements are. I cannot tell you when I went to Jamaica over Thanksgiving, I cannot tell you how many people I saw get turned away at the desk at the airport because they did not have their negative COVID test within a certain period of time. And it had to be the piece at that time was like the PCR test. It was within 10 days. And they didn't have the travel authorization from the Jamaica Tourism Board. And so if you didn't have those papers printed out, you were not even allowed to board your flight in the United States to go. And there you go. Like, and
really?
I saw so many people in tears on the phone. But if you have a travel agent, they're going to make sure that you know all that. I send you the link. I tell you, this is, you need to go this many days. This is when you can, this is the first day you can go for your test. And those requirements are always changing. So what is good today might not be the case tomorrow. So make sure you're checking often as you get as you get closer to your trip. And
Wow.
yeah, yep. And then probably one more would probably be watch what you pack, regardless of where you go. Just make sure that you're aware of things like, you can't bring produce into another country or,
Right.
make sure you put stuff in Ziploc bags. Lots of people put, oh, I'm going to pack this in my checked luggage and then don't put their shampoo or conditioner or whatever in a Ziploc bag and it's all over your clothes.
Explodes.
Yeah. And then you're looking for a laundromat or paying out the nose for dry cleaning or, laundry service at your hotel to get your stuff cleaned. But yeah, you would think sometimes that's common sense, sometimes it's not. But yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. I love it. I love those 3 tips. That's good. And I'm super excited to start traveling again. So I mean, it sounds like you've been traveling quite a bit. I mean,
I have.
you said Jamaica, you've been to Disney, Cancun.
Yep.
Jeez, man, that's
Universal. I've
awesome.
been Disney a few times. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and it's go. I mean, take the trip and make the memories. And that's one thing too. Like, so we took our kids to Disney for Christmas. We stopped giving them toys and things a few years ago, and now we give them vacations and memories. Like we gift memories, right? Because life is short, right? I mean, you never know when it's your time, and I would much rather have them have memories than like a whole room full of stuff that they don't ever play with, especially here because they play outside. But yeah, so we did that, and actually Turks and Caicos was supposed to be their trip last year, which is why we went for Christmas this year because or in 2020 because we felt bad. We did a whole scavenger hunt. They found out we were going to beaches, Turks and Caicos. They were super excited. We were going to go with one of my coworkers. She's one of my good friends and her family. And then COVID. So, yeah.
Wow.
But and if
Well,
yeah,
I'm ready. I'm definitely I'm definitely gonna reach out to you because we're literally looking at where do we go, what do we
yes,
do.
please do.
So
And that's the thing too.
yeah,
You don't
we'll
have to have a destination in mind. A good travel agent can take what you want. Do you want adventure? Do you want relaxation? Do you want are you open to cruises? Are you not? And then find something that fits your what you
that's a
want.
really good point. That's a really good point. And then yeah, so I'll talk to Fran, see what
Yeah,
she's interested in,
sounds
and
good.
then I'll shoot you some ideas and
Perfect.
we'll go from there.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I can't thank you enough. I had a fun time talking. Hopefully you enjoyed it,
I
and
did.
it was good catching up.
It was.
And I'm super excited that you're moving overseas for a couple of years because that's just a fun thing, to experience. I'm so my wife is Vietnamese and Laotian. She still has family back in Laos, and that was something that we were hoping to do this year is go to Laos.
Yeah.
But with COVID and everything, and now her cousin or sister, however you want to look at it, lives over there right now, and she's like, a lot of people are coming in from Thailand
Yeah.
that are not following the rules, and they had like 80 cases last year, and then just in 1 week they had like 600 of cases of COVID. So they're like, yeah, it's a really bad time. Borders are closed. Like they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Oh,
well, we're not
that's
going to
rough.
go there just yet.
We'll put a pin in that one for later. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely on our list though that we want to do because yeah, it's just fun. She's been there before, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Cool.
So thank you again, and I look forward to chatting with you in the future.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.